Hello and welcome to our 8th week of the course on Frank Lloyd Wright. And this week we are speaking about organic architecture and Wright's worldview. Wright defined his architecture as organic architecture, and he probably got that from Sullivan or from others. And what did he exactly mean by organic architecture?
Well, fortunately, we have quite a few tapes of recordings of Frank Lloyd Wright, mostly when he was quite old. And when we listen to them, every time he talks about organic architecture, he defines it differently. So what we're going to see is several different approaches to organic architecture. So let's start with three of them. He means the use of natural materials relating to natural features of the site and embodying the democratic American spirit. So, natural materials. And right away we got a problem. What the hell's a natural material? What's an unnatural material? And so we like to say, well, glass and steel are brick and wood are natural, glass and steel are not, but they're all, come from nature and are processed to be used in a building. So it's one of those things where, maybe we know what we mean even though we can't define it.
Sure.
So, looking at Johnson wax, we see the use of the brick, but there's glass here. And we saw this slide before where this is one of the Usonian houses by Wright, and here is, we would certainly say this is not organic. Mies is German pavilion or Barcelona pavilion, but Mies uses glass, Frank Lloyd Wright uses glass. Is Mies's glass
More natural than, or less natural?
Or more, right. And of course, Mies is using glass at the cutting edge of industry, the biggest plate glass sheets you could get at that time. And Wright's got just little panes of glass. So
those were much cheaper to use than the big ones,
right?
right?
And he's got wood molding. But, so it's a fuzzy concept. But we sort of mean Wright appreciating the natural qualities of wood. We look at wood, we see the grain of the wood. It sort of communicates to us the seasons through which the tree grew, etc. So
maybe it has to do with the fact that also Wright's architecture was mostly suburban and mostly built somewhere closely related and connected to nature, while Mies used to build in cities.
Right. But then, here's a house by Wright, and here we see all the brick and the wood. There's no way wood's going to make this cantilever. There's a monster steel beams in here, hidden away. And so just another architect you can hear about in Yvonne's course on modern architecture, Louis Kahn. Louis Kahn would never do that. If he's doing something, he's got to make it apparent. He would never hide it. So then, relating to the natural features of the site, and what comes to mind, of course, instantly is falling water. And falling water beautifully is nestled into its site, responds to the seasons. It works with with snow and ice, with green trees. It has the natural waterfall running under the house. And we don't all get summer weekend houses in the country like this, but it's something we aspire to be nestled into nature, and it's something Wright aspired to in his architecture. So, second definition, relating to the natural features of the site. Now, here's Le Corbusier's Villa Savoie, sits in an open area, and it also relates to its site. It relates to its site differently. And so that's something for you to think about. It's not that one relates to nature and the other does not, but different attitudes toward nature. Maybe more the human being is embedded into and part of nature, the human being stands above, understands nature. And I think Le Corbusier is more in this Renaissance Palladian point of view that we looked at before. And finally, in this sequence, we'll look at embodying the American democratic spirit. And here it's very important to realize that Wright and people like him, Emerson, who was very influential on Wright, when they thought about democracy, it didn't just mean voting. It meant a whole cultural attitude in which one is responsible for oneself, one is able to manifest oneself, one comes to understand one's potential and bring it into realization. So that's a key part of their understanding of democracy or democratic spirit. It was being achieved in America, and Wright wanted to embody that. So if we look at the slogan of the French Revolution, freedom, equality, brotherhood, liberté, égalité, fraternité, maybe in America there's more an emphasis on freedom, and in Europe more an emphasis on equality and brotherhood. And right now, you know, people are wondering, is there too much of an individualistic cowboy mentality in America? And certainly the Europeans think so. So here are two very different houses by Frank Lloyd Wright. Here's Le Corbusier's Marseille block, and when Corbu lectured at my school, he made a big diagram on paper with this magic marker of this, and he said 1,000 people, one entrance. And so that's a kind of existing as part of a community rather than existing as an individual. And so maybe there's a case for a difference in emphasis. So how do we feel about organic architecture today? Does it still represent our values in the world today? Something for our students to think about.